So now over to our second speaker, who is Lindsey German. Lindsey, known to many of you, is convener of the Stop the War Coalition, and she's been a great friend to CND for almost 2 decades. Lindsey, welcome.
Thanks very much, Kate. And just to say solidarity to CND, thanks for calling this rally. And you can be certain that whatever you're planning with protests and demonstrations that Stop the War will fully support them over this issue and will be part of whatever is going on. Because I very much agree with what you said and what Stephen said, that this is a really shocking decision, even by the standards of this government. And just when you thought you couldn't be shocked by anything in the integrated review, I think it actually has shown a government which is determined to boost its own role of Britain's place in the world, which is looking back to kind of imperial grandeur and being prepared to spend huge amounts of money on the military, on aircraft carriers, on nuclear weapons, in order to maintain this fiction that it has this great role in the world. And at the same time, it's a government which is both callous about its own population and doesn't look to the real issues that are facing us in terms of the environment, in terms of the COVID pandemic, in terms of any of these kind of things. And I'm sure we could all think of very many better ways for money to be spent on these things. So it's a government which is doing this. It's also a government which is cracking down on protests. And as we know, this week, a bill has passed its second reading in Parliament, which actually will make it much, much harder for those of us who want to demonstrate. So it brings together, I think, all these different issues in terms of this increase, this 40% increase in nuclear warheads. But I also think we should look at it in terms of the specifics, because I think there has been an incredible partly cynical and partly just glib way in which the media and politicians now talk about nuclear weapons as though they don't really have any effect. And I think for those of us who grew up in the shadow of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and who learned as we grew up about the terrible effects of those, and to know that each of these warheads is much, much more damaging than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, I think we need to try to bring out these arguments once again. I think that if people understood the consequences of nuclear war, if they understood that nuclear war has absolutely no winners and it is about the destruction of humanity, it seems to me this is one of the main messages that we've got to get across. So I think that is an important issue for us to raise as well as all the other things to do with the treaties, to do with the way in which this government is so recklessly spending money on arms and on the military. So just to conclude, just to say, I think this is a huge issue for all of us on the left, in the peace movement, in the anti-war movement, the trade unions, right across the board. I think this is something we all need to take up, and we need to resist and protest as much as we can to make sure they don't get away with it.
Thanks very much indeed, Lindsey. That's brilliant.